But anything that's going to be on page one for that particular search query is Google saying these are the best options to answer your question the fastest. So you'll actually, benefit from it, because if you answer that search query, then Google's going to recognize, oh, this person got this answer here. And then now you get to move up in the search results.
Hello and welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show,
where we provide tips and advice to improve your website's search engine ranking.
I'm Brittany Herzberg, SEO copywriter for holistic health and wellness pros who want to show up as the answer to a Googled question.
And I'm Krista Waddell, an e-commerce seller and content creator. I help business owners communicate the value of their products and services through content so you can make more sales and grow your business.
We're business besties who love learning and sharing what we've learned. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump in.
Welcome back. We are going to tackle some SEO audit issues that commonly show up. I'm excited about this. Crystal, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm excited.
I can feel it. I can feel that excitement. Okay. Well, if you're part of the SEO Shorts crew that we have, we kind of released these episodes a little bit backwards. We have the how-to for how you can go and improve these errors over on the SEO Shorts. I believe that episode will, by the time this comes out, it's probably dropped three weeks ago or something like that. So if you're interested in figuring out how to fix these issues, you should probably check out the SEO Shorts link that's going to be in the show notes. Subtle plug.
Awesome. Yeah, I was confused for a second. I was like, which show is this again? But okay, I'm with you now. I'm with you.
Welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show. But if you're curious about the how-to for how to fix these errors, you can pop on over to SEO Shorts. Ta-da!
Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. Okay, so where are we starting? Today? Or actually, do you want to tell us all the things we're going to talk about, and then we can start with the first one?
That sounds smart. Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to be working through the following. We're going to talk to you about broken links, meta description errors, low word count. So the meta description errors also include a missing meta description, or one that's too long, or a duplicated one. And then we've got low word count, which we'll get into that. SEO non-friendly. Yes, that's a complete sentence. We'll dive into what that means. Response code 4XX, also known as if you ever see a 404 error page, all of that stuff. It's oh no, you landed on the wrong thing. Title tag errors, which include, again, one that's missing, a duplicated one. And finally, we're going to get into multiple or no H1 headings. So, ta-da.
Awesome. So I say we start with broken links, since number one, it was the first one you said, but it's also something that most people grasp the concept of, right?
Yeah. Tell us more.
Okay. So a broken link is anytime you click on a hyperlink or something that's highlighted in the text online and it doesn't go anywhere. And it's sorry, this can't be found, and it's your worst nightmare. But go ahead.
I know I made a face. I have a good comparison for it. It's when Siri is rerouting, because your destination is well, that's not true. Hold on. You know what? Okay, this is a better example. I'm I'm going to make this happen. A better example is I've punched in an address and it's still kind of new. So it's you're going to have to park and walk to your destination. It's we don't exactly know where this is, but it'll get you close. How about?
Yeah, because a broken link doesn't get you close. It doesn't get you anywhere. There's no relative point.
How about this? I've been searching Airbnb to try to find the next place I'm going to live. And it gives you a search area, but you have no idea where to go. How about that one?
No.
We're going to have to cut this on the show.
Yeah, I was I think you're trying too hard. You said your brain wasn't working. And I think that was a connection. A broken link is just a broken link. You know what I mean? It's just something it's a dead end. That's more what it is. If you were to drive to your Airbnb, but then you came to a dead end and you didn't get there, that's a broken link. No.
Yeah, that is a broken link. Okay, that's a good. I like it. I was trying to make one of those other ones happen.
Well, and broken links are really common because let's say you had a lead magnet or some sort of download that you were giving away for free, and then you changed it. Mm-hmm. Well, depending on where you put it, people might still be able to find it online, and they click and they want to get this thing, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So Therein lies a broken link.
Therein lies a broken link. Another example from my website that I know that I have to be careful of is I changed when I updated my site to go from wet massage to copywriting. I know I changed the URL slug specifically on my services page. So I can't just have /services. It has to say /healthcare copywriter. So like, that's an example. If you did that with your website, that's probably what's happening, unless you made sure to update all of the links.
Yeah. And, there's the process of manually updating the links, each one. And then a lot of times, depending on what your CMS, your content management platform or service is, you have the option of like changing the at the URL level. So instead of it going to whatever you had set up before, you can create something different so that when somebody clicks on that link or types it in, not that they'll type it in, but if they clicked on that link, it would automatically create what we call 301 redirect. And so from the user side, nothing is wrong, and ask yourself, when's the last time you actually looked at the URL bar to see what the slug was, you know what I mean? Or to see what the address was on the URL. So that's kind of the best way to do it. But when you have a whole bunch of, 301s, and especially like if you create one redirect because you change your freebie and then you change it again because you have another freebie, now you're having like this chain of redirects, and that also is a negative thing. So, there's definitely some thought and strategy that goes into how to fix that for sure.
Yeah, and it is fixable. So don't panic if you're like, oh no, I definitely have lead magnets that I no longer talk about and it might be tagged somewhere. Don't worry, there's a way to fix it. But if you want to find out how, you're going to have to go through the SEO Shorts episode.
Yeah. And, there's another place that this shows up a lot is just like you said, like when you pivot niches, like if you're, talking all about massage therapy and then now you're talking about copywriting, you're definitely going to have pages that maybe aren't as important anymore that you kind of, recreate or redesign to fit like what you're doing now. And, the old links aren't going to work. That page might not even exist anymore.
Exactly. All right. So broken links, I feel like we're covered on that one. So the next one that we're going to talk about is meta description errors. And I was hinting when I was reading through these that includes like a missing meta description, one that's duplicated. What else can you think of, Crystal?
Oh, okay. You said missing meta descriptions, duplicated meta descriptions, meta descriptions that are too long. That's one. I don't necessarily see ones that are too short, but it's possible because a meta description should be between 150 and 160 characters. But I know even on Shopify, on the blank that they have for you to fill in your meta description, it will give you like 200 characters or something like that.
You can't trust what the websites are saying because even on Squarespace, or it might not be Squarespace, don't quote me on that, but I've seen one where it's like 400 characters and I'm like, please don't tell people that that's like what.
Yeah, I'm like, and I remember, on the homepage of the Shopify theme template, it's like 320 characters for the meta description. And so if you don't know any better, which nobody does, I mean, by the time you figure out that there's a box there that you can put some stuff in, you're like, oh, I got 320 characters to keyword stuff. Okay, so that's what usually happens. But and what's interesting is it's 2 times the recommended amount. So that doesn't really make any sense. I wonder what is going on there.
Maybe that used to be the character limit and then they modified. I have no idea. But like you said, when I first saw that, I was like, oh, this is where I put SEO keywords. Okay. And I think I tried to maximize the keyword, the amount of characters that were in that box. And I was using those vertical bars a lot. So I remember, and I think that actually was how my website was set up because I had a friend help me set it up way back when. And then when I went through and updated everything for copywriting, I was like, oh, he's like, we've got the vertical bars in here. Let me just continue that pattern. And so it was like Brittany Herzberg vertical bar, Raleigh, North Carolina vertical bar, like massage therapy. And then I updated it to copywriting. And so don't do that.
Yeah, for sure. I was a big fan of the vertical bars because I use those a lot in Pinterest. But, I try to limit myself to one vertical bar and that has more with the title tag. So I'll talk about that. That'll be like a nice little bonus for you, especially if you're a product seller. I learned this in a page fly seminar, so I will share with you what you should put after that vertical bar, but we're not there yet. So
we're not there yet. So if you have, other things that are important to point out, because like the duplicate meta description is a not great thing and it's going to get flagged as an issue. So a note there is that you want to have every page, including like blog pages or product pages or whatever you have, and correct me if I'm wrong in saying that. I usually try to stay away from e-commerce advice, but every page needs to have a unique meta description.
Yeah. And one thing I found, it doesn't matter which website builder platform CMS that you're using. I've seen this with every person so far that I've talked to, whether it was WordPress, Shopify, or Squarespace. When you create a page, a lot of times it seems like the easiest thing to do when you're making another page is just duplicate that page, because there is going to be some information that, you can use again, or at the very least, it feels like a template, right? But what happens is when you duplicate that page, you're also duplicating the meta information, the metadata. And so that's where these duplicate meta description errors come up most often.
Most often. Yeah, I agree. Another note for the meta description is that, well, there's two things. One, I've been told, and I've actually seen this happen, that Google and other search engines don't always take the meta description you provide and use it. Sometimes they're like, oh, that's a cute suggestion, and then they do their own thing. I always feel like it's better to have something in there to indicate what you would like to have said versus not having it in there at all. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, when you're writing it, write like you're writing to the person. Take those copywriting skills that you're putting on to use on your webpage and on your emails and put that to use in your meta description. Because when it comes to a search query, someone types in a question in Google, the results page show up. They're going to be more inclined to click on things, especially if they feel like someone's talking to them and actually helping them solve the problem that they want to solve.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. Good job.
We need a sticker. Okay, who's up next?
Low word count.
Sweet.
Wow. Now, low word count, honestly, this is one of the most time-consuming SEO fixes to make, because when you do an Uber Suggest site audit, their on-page SEO suggestion is that your word count is at least 200 words. However, I've seen on other websites that it should be a minimum of 300 words. So ideally, you get to 300 plus, but you're going to pass your Uber Suggest site audit test or whatever if you have at least 200 words on the page. And the best way that I have found to do this and do this quickly without going insane is to use Jasper. And so that's one of my favorite things, my favorite use cases for Jasper, because I recently had a client where I can't remember, I think she had like maybe 60 pages with low word count.
Wow.
And yeah, that's a lot, right?
That's a lot.
So, yeah. And this happens a lot too with, again, e-commerce, product pages, collection pages. It's like, where do you even put the text? Like sometimes themes are set up to where, you don't even realize that you can add text to that page. So that's been kind of a common thing. But yeah, 69 pages with low word count. And honestly, when I started, she's probably going to listen to this and go, I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about me. But I didn't even realize, like, oh my gosh, 69 pages. That's a lot of pages to up that word count. But because I had Jasper, I was able to knock it out really quickly. And I wrote in a tone of voice that was, very friendly and, similar to her brand. And, every time I wrote one, I'd send it to her. I'd say, hey, can you read it? Double check it, make sure it sounds okay. And we collaborated and kind of co-created that together. But that low word count without an AI writing tool, or without, you just being an awesome writer and someone who loves to write and has the time to write, that is definitely going to be a time-consuming fix.
Yeah, it can be for sure. So I would say some of the pages for service providers that this shows up a lot with is like, if you have that Instagram link in bio, a lot of us just put, buttons and that's it. You can, think through like what else you can write in there. Or can you give them some helpful information to help them make a decision about like what freebie they want or what podcast to listen to or how to work with you? So that's one page. Contact pages, often I see flagged with a low word count. Again, maybe you just like write them a little letter on there. Just say hi, tell them, that you're happy that they're around and whatever, just like whatever works for your brand, you can just think through that and write a little bit of a something there for them. Are there any other pages you can think of? I know those are the two that always come to mind for me.
Yeah, I guess, like I said before, just the collection pages, primarily product pages. And then, it's essentially any page. It's not a blog page.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Because blogs are by nature going to be longer. And, even some blog pages aren't 300 words. So, at the minimum, because we've talked about this before, people are like, how long should my blog be? Well, it depends. It depends on, what's ranking for the keyword that you want to rank for. But in terms of word count, we now know that it at least needs to be 300 words, probably, for you to be looked at favorably by Google, that you don't have thin content.
Right.
So with a blog, let's aim for 300 words or more.
I've been trying so my weekly blog writing goal for 2023 has been going pretty well. 3 for 3.
Nice. Good job.
So I'm very excited. Thank you. And last week I was like, all right, just 500, because I have a lot of writing that I'm doing for client work. And I was like, just 500 words. I think I ended up with like 1,400 words, which is great. But my threshold has been like, just hit 500. And once I do, I usually keep going. But that's been my number. If that helps you listening, if you want to shoot for a number. And what was I going to say? There was something else helpful that I was going to share. Oh, helpful. Okay. So with the Google helpful content update, again, just make sure that you're getting the information across so that your article is helpful to the person who's going to search for, find, click on, and read that blog post.
Yeah, for sure. And, most people, I don't know, like they say your information should be scannable. And we're going to talk about maybe that just a little bit when we get down to the H1s. But that's really what's really important too, as well. Not so much the word count, but just that it's easy to read and easy to grab that really important, helpful information. So yeah. And I want to make a note here, like people always talk about bounce rate. And I'm so glad for the most part that the new GA4 does not, talk about bounce rate as much as it does engagement rate. Because if somebody comes to your website and reads your article or, comes there and finds the helpful content they need, even if they find it right away within a few seconds, Google is not going to penalize you because they found what they needed and they left.
Yeah.
What happens for like penalties is when they come to your website and then they go back and they click on somebody else's because they didn't get the information they needed. So it's not so much about word count in general. There's lots of factors that go into, how much, how many words and what words and all that type of stuff. But ultimately, Google wants people to be able to find the information that they're looking for as quickly, as efficiently, and as, fully, I don't know if that's the right word, as possible. And it's not going to count against you if you don't have, 5,000 words, if you answer the question and you solve the problem.
I also, you brought up something. I feel like it's not fair when people for Google to penalize you when someone clicks on your article, they get some piece of what they need and then they go somewhere else. Because also too, like when we're writing these pieces of content, we often have like a pretty narrow focus. So I feel like it's not the end of the world if you're keeping that narrow focus, because it is easier for the reader. If you're trying to walk them through how to do a process of something, then you would want to have all of the steps on there. And like you're saying, Crystal, if you have that easy to read, easy to scan, so someone can just like get it and go, that's wonderful. But if you're talking about something that's like a piece of a bigger puzzle, I don't know, that makes me sad that Google penalizes that.
Well, I wouldn't feel sad about it because it really boils down to search intent. Because most people, they're not looking for the overall global picture of something. They are looking for that really targeted piece of information. So that's what our content has to be. It has to be like to match that particular search query. And if someone, reads, like say my article and it answers the search query, then they might have another search query for something else that expands on it or whatever. But anything that's going to be on page 1 for that particular search query is Google saying these are the best options to answer your question the fastest. So you'll actually, benefit from it, because if you answer that search query, then Google's going to recognize, oh, this person got this answer here. And then now you get to move up in the search results.
Good point. All right.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to SEO non-friendly?
Yeah, SEO non-friendly. It's funny, before I started doing audits for others, I never really saw this pop up. SEO non-friendly, really. And so what I've learned is that if you have, strange characters in your URL, like a www.com / whatever, with an ampersand or an and sign or an @ symbol or exclamation point or anything like that, those are going to be flags for SEO non-friendly URLs. That's one thing I learned.
I never even knew, it's never crossed my mind to put an ampersand, and I use those everywhere, but it's never crossed my mind to put that in a URL slug.
Yeah, I've seen it come up before. Where have I seen it? Like when I'm sharing an image or something to Facebook, sometimes weird symbols come up in the text, and it's like, where did that come from? And I still don't know. But I guess they're out there. And then also, let's say you have a keyword, and let's say that our keyword is good keyword. All right. That's the keyword that we're shooting for. When you put it in the URL, you want it to be good - keyword, because the dash is how Google reads as space. If you put good keyword, that technically is a non-friendly URL, because that's not a word. Good keyword is not a word by itself. It should be separated into two.
Are you tired of working a job you hate? I'm Mark Savant, host of the After Hours Entrepreneur Podcast, and I know that feeling. I used to wake up every morning dreading the day, and after years of effort, I was able to leave my job and do something that I love. You can too. The After Hours Entrepreneur Podcast is your guide to building profitable six-figure years. I'm sharing the lessons that I wish I knew and bringing on experts like Pat Flynn, Jasmine Starr, and more. Click the link. You don't need to dread Mondays anymore. Take action and build a life you love.
That's a good point. Yeah. So make sure you're writing your URL slugs like word - word. And I usually, for me at least, I aim for 3 to 5 words. So .com / and then 3 to 5 words with dashes in between.
Yeah. And sometimes I range from 1 word to 5 words, I guess, whatever number of words it is, that whatever the keyword is that I'm going for. And I'll talk more about that too when we talk about the H1s, because I just find keywords so fascinating.
I'm kind of glad now that we left that one toward the end, because I feel like you're going to have so much stuff built up that you can talk about.
Yeah, I just have to remember what they are as I get
You'll do it. You can do it.
Maybe you can.
Okay, so that's SEO non-friendly. And then we have response code 4XX, which if you do a search and you end up on someone's website and it's like, 404 error. I don't know why I can't talk today. 404 error. That's what this is talking about.
Yeah. And I think it's fun, just like a landing page or, like a thank you page. And I know we're not talking about thank you pages right now, but just for anyone who might be listening that, you ever have someone purchase something from you, and then it's what happens on that next page, once you say thank you for buying whatever it is you bought. I never realized this, but that's a huge opportunity to be able to put something there to redirect them back to, a blog or some other product or something else that is, marketing for you, right? You can make that page serve a marketing function. Well, it's the same thing for 404 pages. So we've talked about this before. It's sometimes putting something funny there, or, I have a picture on my Shopify page that says, oops. And it has me and my son Asher laughing about something, and it's oops, sorry, I don't know how you got here, but, let's get you back where you need to be. And the page looks like an actual page. It doesn't look like, your standard 404 page, because it does say oops, but it's maybe you were looking for this blog, or maybe you're looking for these products. So I added a couple different things to that page so that people could hopefully get back to what they were trying to get to in the first place. So,
yeah. And I have not been as creative with myself. I've been creative with clients, and I've had a lot of fun. You can put GIFs up there. You can put, you were talking about, pictures. You can just be really funny with what you're saying on there. But mine, how it's set up, it just goes to, I think, like my homepage. So it makes the user probably feel like, oh no, I'm in this endless loop. Oh, this must not exist. So it's a little bit more frustrating for me to do that for my users versus having a 404 page. So that's definitely on my to-do list.
Yeah. And most 404 pages are set up like that, where it will just simply say 404 and then a sentence that says this page does not exist. And then it has a hyperlink right underneath that says return to home, you know, and it's like, okay, fine. You know, people can get back to the homepage and hopefully navigate wherever they were going. But, you know, how much more fun is it to, you know, have a chance to kind of say hi to this person and, you know, help them get to know you and your content or whatever a little bit better. So,
at least you're like, I feel like your brand personality really can come out there. Like your personality can come out there. And if it is fun, like me and you have very fun personalities and brands. So it's like, oh yeah, we're going to make a joke. We're going to make you laugh. And that's a much better, as you know, user experience.
Yeah. And one other thing, I know we're not really talking about the how here because we're going to talk about that more on SEO Shorts, but just as it popped in my mind, because I don't have this on my website, but I'd like to possibly putting some sort of search function on that 404 page, because then it's like, okay, we don't know how you got here. Maybe they came from like Facebook or Instagram, unlikely, but maybe they did. And then maybe they came from Pinterest or whatever. So they may not know how to navigate your homepage. They may not have ever been on your homepage. So giving them a way to search for what they were coming to your site for might help them find it, you know, that much faster.
I like that. All right. Shall we move on?
Sure.
We've got two more.
Okay.
So next up, we have title tag errors.
Title tag errors. Okay. So I think, again, this kind of happens when your title tag's too long. So that's probably the most common one. I know, like, one issue that I'm seeing right now at a theme level, sometimes themes will append or add something to the end of each title. And like some people say it's good for SEO for every single one of your titles to end with your website name. But I'm like,
I disagree.
I've read other places where like that's outdated. But if it's in your theme, sometimes you can't even control it. It's like you pull up your page and the title is just the title of the page, vertical bar, website name. It's like,
and I think you and I were on the phone or on Zoom or something together one time, and I went into my Squarespace and I magically found this place where it's like it had a set theme for my pages. And I was like, wait a minute, because I think we had found an error on my audit that said like title tag too long. So I went and I was like poking around and I found that and I updated it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it was confusing. Another error that you might see with title tags is the same thing like meta description, because if you duplicate a page, oftentimes it's going to duplicate the title and the meta description. So you might also see a duplicated title tag there.
Yeah. And one thing, I was going to mention this with H1, but it's still the same thing in Shopify, like the e-commerce platform I'm most familiar with. The title tag and the H1 are the same thing, like H1, title tag, and product name. Those are all like synonyms on Shopify.
Just like automatically?
No, they're different. You have to put the same thing in different places. Like say for like, sometimes, even if you don't create, remember how you said earlier, Google just fill it in for you. Sometimes if you don't intentionally create a meta title, it will fill it in with your product title or something like that. But it's good to go ahead and, you know, name your product, and that's your title tag, or your product title. And then also down where it's time to do the meta description title, put that same information there, because they're essentially the same thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I know there's probably been some, like you probably heard some people say, oh, your title shouldn't match up exactly with your meta title. But I was listening to another guy. It was the same guy that I was telling you I wanted to have on about local SEO.
Oh, yeah.
And the host was asking him, and he's had an SEO company for like 20 years. And the host was asking him a clarifying question about H1s and meta titles. And I was like, I'm so glad to hear what his answer is, because I've heard it from both sides that either they shouldn't be the same or they should. And he was like, oh yeah, they should be the same. Just make it easy. And if you go into like Ahrefs and do a site audit, Ahrefs will actually flag your page as an error if the H1 and the meta title are different. So that's how I first learned about that.
I wonder like how much that impacts someone's SEO strategy, domain authority, that kind of thing. They're like ranking. I wonder, because mine don't match up.
It just depends. I mean, if they're similar, then, that's probably fine. But I think it just shows Google that it's, the technical SEO piece is done there, I guess.
This is true. I just make sure to have my keyword or key phrase in there. This is interesting. All right. Shall we get to your favorite one of this list?
Okay. The multiple or no H1s. Okay. So we've talked about this before, about the fact that like no one really told us what an H1 is or what an H2 is or what an H3 is. And so I just wanted to talk really quick about header hierarchy, because that's what this essentially is. And so your H1 is typically going to feature, well, it's always should feature your primary keyword that you want the page to rank for near the very beginning or at the beginning of that title. And so that's the first thing. Now, how this is so helpful is that once you have your keyword in the title, you don't need to necessarily repeat that particular key phrase over and over again, because that's where like keyword stuffing comes in. And so once I learned that, it made it a lot easier to write for the rest of the page, because now when I have an H2, which is a header 2, which is kind of like a section heading, I'm using an alternate form of that keyword. So I'm still talking about the thing, but I'm using maybe a long-tailed keyword that's related or something like that, but I'm not using the exact same keyword. And then like an H3 is when you break down parts of whatever that section is into even more pieces or whatever. And that's how Google can crawl your site and understand like the hierarchy. And like H1's most important, H2 supporting the H1, and the H3 is supporting its H2, whatever it's under. And then you can go back to an H2 or whatnot.
Have you always wanted to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? My name is Rich Summers, and I have a new podcast where I help people build wealth through real estate investing. I recently had on guest Tarek El Moussa from HGTV Flip or Flop, and I also do a lot of fun educational episodes teaching you how to invest in real estate. So if you're looking for a new real estate podcast that's fun and free-flowing, be sure to give it a listen. My podcast is called The Rich Summers Report. That's spelled SOMERS. Again, that's The Rich Summers Report, and you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and all major platforms. Hope to see you there.
Yeah. And so a couple of things that I want to point out. When I'm writing with H1s, I don't always get hung up on making sure that the keyword is toward the beginning. So if you have headings that you're reflecting on or you're looking at and you're like, oh my gosh, it's not toward the beginning, don't panic. It's more important that it's in there. So if it's in there, you're doing great. I like to write my headings when I'm doing copywriting. Specifically, like the two that I really like to highlight are either like, what's the transformation that's happening on this page, especially as they relate to case studies, or what problem are we going to highlight and talk about here? So I find that really helpful, especially with blogs. So transformation or problem, definitely keep those top of mind. Oh, and then one thing I like to do either when I'm writing or suggest to people, like I suggested this in the case study training, is to take all of those headings, take your H1, and remember there can only be one H1 per page ever. They're super territorial. As much as you might be tempted to throw an extra H1 in there. Don't. Like, I know it's a pretty font and everything, but it's only one. But what I'll do is I'll pull out all of the H1s, H2s, H3s in the order that they show up on the page, because at least 80% of people who read a web page are skimming. So if you can pull all of those headings out and just skim down the headings, and if it makes sense, you're doing good. And your reader will more than likely be able to get the point of what you're saying. So keep that in mind as you're writing. If it helps you, I know that my SEO basics, checklist has that on there. Like it has a space where you can put your H1 and it has a space where you can put your H2s and H3s. So you can pretend like you're reading down your page. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you mentioned keyword stuffing, a good percentage-ish to shoot for with your keyword is like repeating it on the page, like 2 to 3% of the time. So if you have what would that be? Like if you have 100 word count for a page, you're going to say the keyword like 2 times, right? Did I do the math on that right? I think so.
Yeah. You did the math. And honestly, if you're a beginner and all of this is sounding a little bit like Greek to you, I cannot recommend Surfer SEO enough. Because Surfer is what made me finally like it. Does the light bulb go off with the H1 and the keyword? Because in e-commerce, our keywords should be a part of our product title. But, according to Surfer, when you create an article and you have, your H1, once you have that main keyword in there once, you might actually start to turn the red, yellow, green thermometer thing. You might turn it red by put that keyword back in the article somewhere, because it's like the main thing and it only needs to go there once at the top. And so that's kind of where I've like made that connection between, oh, this isn't just for blogs, this is for products as well. And so a tool like Surfer will spell it out for you. They'll tell you exactly, how many words you need to write, how many or what keywords to use, where to use them, like what keywords to use in headings and that type of thing. It just takes the guesswork out. And then once you've written it a few times and written like that a few times, you start to understand the format and the template, and you can probably kind of create something for yourself. But Surfer is a great way to get started and really kind of understand that. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was for the product pages and collection pages for e-commerce. A lot of times, let's say you have a red t-shirt, right? Okay, so that's your keyword, red t-shirt. So that's going to be your product title, red t-shirt. But that's nowhere near as long as it needs to be for a page title or a meta title. So instead of just writing red t-shirt, what I learned from Pagefly, they had it's on YouTube. I'll see if I can find the link to the video, but it was an amazing free masterclass about how to write better converting product pages. And so instead of just red t-shirt, what you do is you write red t-shirt and then maybe add a vertical bar and then add a quote from one of your customers.
Ooh.
Like, I love the way this feels, or something like that, something that evokes emotion, so that when someone sees red t-shirt, they don't just see the bland product name, because you need that for the keyword for people to find it if they're looking for a red t-shirt, right? But you want them also to feel why your red t-shirt is the best one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I made those changes for myself and one of my clients, and it just, it gives the page a completely different vibe.
Yeah.
Like it is emotive. It's like talking to a friend. It's like reading a page that's a friend speaking to you.
Yeah. And I think the statistic is something like, I don't know, 80% or more people, 80% or more of buyers trust something, are interested in something, want to buy something when they see a review. They treat it like, a friend or a family member talking to them about this. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. And like, for people who sell on Etsy, because I have a, soft spot in my heart for Etsy sellers, because I am an Etsy seller, but it's like, you have all of these reviews that you've built up on Etsy, but if someone comes to your website, they're not going to see them. You can't just take those reviews and put them on your website. That's like frowned upon by Google. And just like, our last episode on Google My Business actually pulls in website reviews from like an Etsy or from your own website or whatever. So, but what you can do instead is take those words from the reviews on Etsy and then add them to your H1 or to your title tag. And now you have a really great title tag that also showcases your product in your customers' words. So
yeah, exactly. Use those words from your people, please.
Yeah. And just a wonderful combination of the two things, like SEO and actual customer experience. It's genius. So
that's also what you get with the case studies. But yes, I love that. I also, as you were saying that, I remembered that Haley, the photographer I worked with recently, she shared my full gallery yesterday. And I was like, what can I do? And she's like, well, actually, if you could leave a review on Google. I was like, oh, for sure. She's like, the link is in my bio. So I just made sure to grab that link again. So as soon as we hang up, I'm going to do that.
Ooh, that's a good idea too, to put that Google, My Business listing in the link in bio.
I know.
Have you done that?
I work with really smart people, and I hadn't even, but I think my listing is live. That's one thing I need to check before I put that link in there. But yeah, I was like, you're so smart. I love working with you.
Wow, that's happening today over here on my to-do list. So yeah, super good stuff.
Now that we have our marching orders, is there any final words, any final thoughts? No, this was great. We are so glad that we finally have this episode out for you. We're going to link all the things. I have notes to myself about Surfer SEO, Jasper, the SEO basics checklist, SEO shorts. And then if you're able to find the Pagefly YouTube video, we will also add that in there. But we appreciate you. We're so glad that you're here listening to these things. We want to cheer you on. We want to answer any questions that you might have. So there's definitely a link in the show notes. If you want to share anything, question, win, whatever, we're here for you.
Yeah. So awesome. Thanks for being here today. Hopefully, either my approach or B's approach really resonates with you. And so, take either one of our approaches, mix them together, whatever, just make
Ignore
it
us completely. It's fine.
Yeah. It's
you do.
Don't ignore us completely.
No, I mean, they're here listening though. So, I mean, that's good, right?
Yeah. Trust us. It's like I told Asher. I was like, Asher, honey, seriously, you think I would tell you to do something that's going to hurt you?
Yeah, really.
I love you. I care about you. And even though we don't know each other very well, I do care about you. And I hope that, this is helpful to you.
We want you to win. We want you to succeed. So let us know if there's anything else we can do. Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today.
If you like this info, subscribe before you go, so you never miss out on something related to SEO.
See you next time. Hey guys, this is Crystal, one of your co-hosts from the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. If you're looking for a unique, handcrafted way to spruce up your home or office, then collagenwood.com is the perfect place for you. We are a small, woman-owned business that offers a range of beautiful wooden signs for your home or office. Our talented team of artists will work with you to create a sign that perfectly suits your needs. So why wait? Use promo code SIMPLE10 to save 10%. Visit collagenwood.com today. Save 10% with promo code SIMPLE10. That's collagenwood.com.